What is going on, guys? Scars here, or Brian, whatever you like to call me. And I'm bringing you a funny and not so funny video for myself today because, God, even just thinking about it just frustrates me so bad. I recently, as you could tell by the title, I just recently renewed, or I haven't renewed my passport fully, but I have sent my passport in for renewal. I did mention this in the last video I uploaded about the future plans on my channel, mentioning that I am renewing my passport for future opportunities for travel. And I kind of want to talk to you guys about the process that I went through of just even getting this passport sent into the mail. I haven't gotten the passport back yet because this only happened a few days ago. And the process generally takes between 8 to 11 weeks or like 6 to 8 weeks on an expedited thing, but I have no reason to expedite my passport as I'm not planning on leaving anywhere at this time. So I want to tell you guys what I kind of went through, and hopefully this will give you some perspective as to just how annoying this whole ordeal was for me. Now, I should start by giving a disclaimer that the actual process of renewing your passport, this isn't applying to get a new passport, but renewing your passport. I have about 2 years left on my passport, but again, I want to have a fresh restart on it. I want to get the full 10 years back again. So that's why I went ahead and actually got the passport renewed. And like I said, the renewal process itself is actually not that difficult. Simply put, you need the DS-82 form, which you could pick up from, in my case, I picked it up from my town city hall. You could probably get it from most passport agencies or, just really any kind of government office that offers those services. So the DS-82 form is the application form that you fill out to actually renew the passport. In addition to this, obviously you need your passport. I mean, how are you going to renew your passport without your passport? And then you need either a check or a money order that's going to be sent into the U.S. Department of State, which, I'm not 85 years old, so, I don't have a checkbook laying around to write out a check, but I did do the money order process. And then you need, and in my opinion, this was the most annoying part, which I, again, never had issues in the past with, but you need a passport size photo of yourself taken within the last 6 months. Seems pretty simple. You go to U.S. Post Office and you send it on your way and get your passport back hopefully within a couple months. That's not how it went for me. Let me explain. So, just to give a little bit of context, I had already been up all night the previous night since like 5 p.m. the previous day. The reason being is I work overnight. I am a graveyard shift worker. I usually either work 7 p to 7 a or 8:30 to like 5:45, 6. I still worked 6 a.m. Either way, but I think I had slept 4 hours, the previous day. So I was already pretty tired, but I was like, what the hell? I kind of want to get it done this day. So I had worked all night, worked my overnight shift, got out, and I had to wait about an hour before the nearest Walgreens photo was open because CVS was not open at this time, which is not a big deal because Walgreens photo does passport photos. So I figured before I do anything in the process, I should get my photo taken because I already know that's a little bit of a hassle. You got to get your photos printed out and whatnot. So I figured, okay, what the hell? I waited about an hour when I got home, got some stuff done. Went to Walgreens photo. I got there and I asked them, I said, hey, you guys do the passport photo here? I hate this camera. Anyways, I went to the Walgreens to get my passport photo done. Walk in there and they told me, oh, sorry, our camera's not working right now. I said, okay, that's fine. She said, you need to call around to ask whose camera is working. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, why do I need to call different stores to see whose camera is working? Shouldn't like most of these stores' cameras be working? So I called one store, and this was a huge time saver. Don't get me wrong. I drove like 15 minutes to get to this Walgreens for them just to tell me their camera wasn't working. I was like, whatever, it's fine. I call another Walgreens and they say, oh yeah, no, by the way, our camera's not working. So at this point, I'm trying to get like 3 steps ahead. And I asked them, okay, that's fine. So which Walgreens do you think their cameras are working in? Just to see if they had any idea, if they were having previous issues with people wanting to take passport photos, to kind of get an idea, who can I call to get my photo? And they gave me a store name. I looked it up. I give them a call and turns out they were good to go. So I drive another about 10 minutes or so to this other Walgreens. And by the time I got there, it turns out their camera is working, which is great. So I go in there, get the process done. They have you stand behind a white background or off-white background. That's the color that's required for the passport photos by the U.S. government. I get my photo taken. It prints out. I look at this photo. I'm like, this is kind of fuzzy, a little bit fuzzy. I didn't really think much of it, but the passport photo itself was a little bit fuzzy. My town city hall was open, so I figured, okay, well, let me drive down there. I knew it was a bit of a drive. It was like 20 minutes. Mind you, this is a bunch of, little bit of driving each, which just kind of foreshadows this whole process. So it's about 20-minute drive from the Walgreens to the city hall. And, it was a bit busy in the morning because this was about 9 a.m. to going into 10 a.m. at this point. And this is usually the time when I should be in my bed sleeping. But I was like, I'm going to get this done. I only got a couple more steps to go. I get to the city hall because I had called previously to the city hall earlier asking about the process of how I get my passport renewed. They told me before I even went there to get a second opinion on the passport photos because apparently there have been issues in the past with people's passports getting rejected due to passport photos being just not good. And so I get there and I give my passport photo to the lady for a second opinion. And she looks at it, she's like, oh, it's a little bit grainy. And I knew it looked grainy, but I didn't know how big of a deal that was going to be. Obviously, it would be a big deal, I think, if you sent it in and it was pretty grainy. I don't know how likely they are to accept it because, the cameras that they use in those Walgreens or CVS stores are really not great quality. Not good quality at all. They look like a camera you would give to your 10-year-old kid. And we're in the year 2022. This is a government photo you're taking and you're using a 10-year-old kid's camera to take these photos. Anyways, I give the photo to her. She looks at it. She's saying it's a little grainy. And then she asks me, she has the audacity, she asks me, are your eyes brown? Now, I want you guys to tell me something. Do my eyes look brown to you? So anyways, I already knew from that moment, I'm going to have to take my sorry ass back to the Walgreens to get another photo. And at this point, I'm just like, oh no, like I'd already spent, 30, 45 minutes getting the photos taken to driving all the way up to the city hall for me, knowing that I'm going to have to go all the way back there. I'd already paid for these two little photos, these two by 2 inch photos cost about $17. I told them specifically because of what City Hall previously told me on the phone. I told them I want to keep my receipt in case I need to refund or, take another photo. So as you can imagine, it took me another 20 minutes to get back to the Walgreens, same Walgreens. I had to go back to the same Walgreens because I had the receipt for them and I wasn't about ready to spend another $17 anywhere else. I had them take another couple of photos, which took another 10 minutes or so to get everything ready for that. And guess what? They came out exactly the same quality. Grainy. You couldn't tell the color of my eyes whatsoever. And I was just at this point, I was just like, you know what, guys, I'm going to refund these photos. I need to go elsewhere. So I get my refund. All is good. And at this point, I'm like, well, if I can't do this here at Walgreens, why don't I go to CVS? I've had previous CVS photos taken in Las Vegas because I had to get a couple passport photos when I moved to Vietnam for something for my visa, I'm pretty sure. I was like, well, the CVS photo, because I had an old CVS photo of myself that looked pretty good quality. And I thought, well, maybe CVS uses a different, better quality camera. Turns out that's not at all how that went either. Foreshadowing. I go to the CVS, which again, this is another 10-minute process of me getting to the CVS that then turned into a 30-minute process because this old lady hardly even knew how to use the photo camera to take the passport photo. She generally knew what she was doing, of course. It's not like she was completely blind or new to the concepts. But again, using this children's looking camera to take this photo was just a pain. And she took this photo and again, it looked grainy. You couldn't even tell anything about details of my eyes. I'm just like, how am I going to get through this process? And this is like going back and forth 20, 30 minutes of getting this done. At this point, I'm like, what other alternative do I have? I can't go to another Walgreens or CVS and not run into the same problem because they all use the same cameras. I asked them, about what camera they use. They all use the same camera. I have no idea how passport agencies even accept these photos in the first place, because the quality of these photos were just horrible. Mind you, we're not trying to take model style photos here, but the quality was just awful. So at this point, I kind of do some research into alternatives for passport photos. Turns out you can use a smartphone. I have the iPhone 12 Pro Max. This is a very good camera, and apparently it is allowed to use this camera to print out passport photos. So we use the camera, and when I saw the zoom in, because you have to take this photo kind of at a distance, and then it automatically zooms into your face to get the passport photo size. When I looked on it, even on the zoom in, it didn't look that great, but once it actually printed out, the quality was good. And at this point I thought, okay, this is what I'm gonna have to roll with. I was still nervous at this point because the thought of going another 20 to 25 minutes back to City Hall to get rejected again was just a nightmare for me. But I took the risk, and I did get the photos finally printed out. And then I took my happy self back to the City Hall, and I got yet another second opinion, and turns out everything looked good. I said, these look a lot better than my last ones. What do you think? And she said, they look good. And I said, so they probably won't reject me. She said, no, you should be good. So at this point, I get my DS-82 form, and I get my passport photos. I have my passport with me. The last step not the last step, but the second to last step of the process is to get either a check or a money order. At this point, looking back on it now, I wish I was that 85-year-old man that carried a checkbook to make my life easier, because this next part was just brutally a nightmare because of the amount of distance I had traveled. I thought, okay, well, I'm familiar with 7-Eleven doing money orders. I might as well do that. So I think the closest 7-Eleven was only 7 or 8 minutes away from City Hall. I drive about 7 or 8 minutes to that 7-Eleven. I go in there, and guess what? Their money order machine's not working. I thought, I'm already like getting so screwed over by every other process, but I was like, I will go to another 7-Eleven. I drive, I kid you not, another 10 or 15 minutes to another 7-Eleven, and they're like, oh yeah, our money order machine's down. Turns out it was a system thing, because I had to ask them at this point, because I had already been screwed over with the photo thing, and now I'm getting screwed over with the money order thing. 2 7-Elevens, 2 different stores for my photos, and this is all in like a 2-hour period. I mean, and I'm just at this point, I'm just like, where else can I get a money order? Turns out there's a local grocery store in our area. I was able to get my money order taken, or my money order printed out at. Shout out Publix if you're in Southeast or Florida. I don't know if it's also in the Southeast parts that aren't Florida. But anyhow, went to my local Publix, finally got the money order, and then I took myself over to the U.S. Post Office. This part at the U.S. Post Office is just, again, is a nightmare for me because I'm so unfamiliar with, mailing stuff out. I got myself a high priority, or Mail Express high priority, whatever the highest priority thing is that has tracking, envelope. I filled out my DS-82 form, got everything, triple checked everything, because the thought of my passport getting rejected after going through this 3-hour process was just a nightmare. And it just haunted the very thought of that happening. So I triple checked everything. This was like an hour of being in the U.S. Post Office, just trying to make sure everything looked good. And then finally, I went up to the counter, got everything else finalized, got my passport photo stapled onto the application, because I guess you're supposed to staple the edges to it. And then I put my little money order inside of the book of the passports, and then kind of put everything together, put it into the envelope. She had to help me out, get everything else resolved, because I did not know how to mail out this envelope. Finally, I got it mailed out, and then not even 2 days later, I think it was a day and a half later, it arrived to its destination at the passport agency. So, moral of the story is, when it comes to anything that you need to do for the government, it takes forever. My coworker was literally telling me, he was like, when it comes to anything that you need to pay the government or send to the government or process with the government, it literally takes hours to do. And I don't know why there seems to be this phenomenon where it just takes hours to do anything with the government. even just renewing my passport, the very concept of it was easy. Have a DS-82 application form filled out, have your passport photos, and have a check or money order, and just have it all together and mail it out. I thought that was just going to be such an easy process, but to just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth between things that are either rejected or that were not available took over 3 to 3.5 hours on something that, in my opinion, should have taken an hour at the very most. So if you are trying to do anything with the government, whether you go to the DMV, which you already know that takes hours, or you're trying to renew your passport, or even applying for a new passport, just expect these things to take a long time. Anyways, I just wanted to tell the story about how annoying it was to renew my passport. And I'm sorry if it happens to anybody else in the future, because it is such a pain. Anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you leave a like. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. Leave any comments on future content you guys would like to see. Again, I would very much like to have another interview soon, and I hope that's happening regarding some more travel content. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.